We've been together for a few classes now. I think the age of the jacket is behind us. It's about time I started wearing something here that actually fits. Anyway, in a previous class, we discussed what to feed your mantis and why. If you haven't watched that video, definitely do that. The link is in the description. One of the most common questions new mantis keepers have is one that I often forget is a question at all. How much do you feed a mantis? As someone who's been keeping for essentially his entire life, my initial response is just, uh, you feed them as much as you're supposed to. Honestly, for the routine oriented among you, I'm not that way personally. It's possible to set a schedule of when to feed your mantis. That schedule just can't be set in stone. It'll change over the animal's life, and you should be prepared to withhold a feeding or add an extra feeding for reasons I'll explain later. But in general, feeding a mantis the following amounts will get you good results. Babies should eat every day or every other day, as they're growing fast and get a lot of water from their food. Keeping a couple fruit flies in with babies at all times can be a good strategy, but don't swarm them. Being around multiple prey constantly can stress out a mantis. Don't let a hatchling mantis go for more than 3 days without food. Nymphs from third instar to subadult can be fed about every 3 days, but this is very flexible. As a nymph, a mantis's goal is to fuel its growth as much as possible, and so it's constantly wanting to be taking in and metabolizing food. Once it's full of food, a mantis may not eat again until it's spent 2 or 3 days digesting and evacuating. Rather than feed on a set schedule, I find it better to feed nymphs by judging their abdomen size, which is what the latter part of this video is all about. Unmated adult mantises can often be fed just one substantial meal, or two smaller ones per week, with many males not wanting to eat more than this. Adult females tend to be ravenous and usually eat as much as they can, but overfeeding unmated females seems to increase the risk of them becoming egg-bound and shortens their lives in general. Breeding adults of both sexes should be fed significantly more than non-breeding adults. This helps with egg and sperm production and improves their mating behavior. So there you have it. Definitely, these are workable schedules. About every 2 or 3 days, as a general rule, is going to get most mantises from hatchling to adult just fine. Remember not to feed your mantis when they're preparing to molt. Stay tuned for a video about that soon. And you should be good. But if I left it at that, this wouldn't really be a good Mantis University video. So let's get on to the good stuff. A visual representation of how much a mantis can and should eat. For this, I've brought in a volunteer. This is a pre-subadult, so 2 molts before adulthood, male giant shield mantis, Rhombodera megera. He molted to this instar the night before last, and having gone a few days without eating before that molt, is now a very hungry little guy. You can tell by looking at his abdomen. A mantis's stomach and intestine are located here, and are capable of expanding drastically to hold a lot of food. Right now, this mantis's abdomen is thin, practically the same width as his thorax. The segments are close together, and you can't see any of the flexible membrane between them. If he went another 2 days or so without eating, particularly in a warm place where his metabolism would be moving quickly, it could be dangerous. Today, he's going to help us show the different stages of abdominal fullness after a mantis has eaten certain amounts of food. This red runner cockroach is a great size for a snack. Its body length is about 1/4 of the mantis's. Most mantises will comfortably tackle prey between 1/4 and 1/2 their body length. Whoa, almost pulled yourself off the cup there. Here you go. And get a quality meal out of it. Though some species and life stages are going to be a lot more ambitious. With safe prey, like those outlined in our earlier video, you can try a variety of sizes and see what your mantis prefers. Nymphs, like this guy, and adult females who are developing eggs, have the highest food drive, and will sometimes attack prey that weighs even more than they do. Observe the increase in abdominal width after that one small cockroach. It's not as skinny as before, but the segments are still very close together. This mantis is far from full, and I bet he'll take another one. This red runner is slightly bigger, well-fed itself, and is a great size for this mantis to put on some bulk. The leg muscle seems to be one of the most delicious parts of a cockroach, Um, what are you? Gosh, you're cute. Looks like this guy wants to perch somewhere else instead of eating on the flat table surface. Like I mentioned in Mantis Behavior 101, these animals frequently want to eat while hanging upside down. They both feel safer and don't have to lift heavy prey against gravity so much. He's not even done yet, and you can see the increase in abdominal width. Some of this is probably from the first roach, which is now all moved through the esophagus and ended up in the stomach. And here he is, 2 roaches down and with a very healthy, standard looking abdomen size. This is the kind of middle ground weight that you can think of as the baseline for your mantis. He's still not full, not even particularly close, and for a growing boy like this should be eating himself to the max if he wants to achieve his greatest adult size. Mantises become bigger adults when they eat more as nymphs, and when they have the choice, they will frequently eat to utter stretched abdomen satiation multiple times over their lives. For wild mantises who don't know when their next meal will come or what it'll be, this makes perfect sense. Our pet mantises don't need to be eating like this all the time, though, and having an abdomen that's as full as possible increases the risks of mechanical damage. Some keepers also report issues with sicknesses in very full mantises kept in overly humid, stagnant environments, though those conditions tend to be bad news, regardless of how full the mantis is. With all this in mind, let's see if our volunteer wants a third roach today. Yep, especially for a genus like Rhombodera, this isn't surprising at all. These things are ravenous. And this is how he looks, having eaten 3 roaches over the last 2 hours. If I offered him a fourth, honestly, I think he'd probably take it. But you have other classes to attend, and this guy certainly doesn't need that much all in one day. But maybe in 2 or 3 days from now, like we talked about. Now go out, get yourselves a snack, and we'll see you next time.